appreciate it. I am the last conversation for most of these. Talking about HBCUs that are near and dear to my heart and so many others. Honored to have you today, Lawrence, graduate of Lawrence College, now in charge of head of policy and regulations. Also have here Dr. Bobbie, president of Lawrence College, and the South, which I will highlight, and Lezli Baskerville. I'll turn this over to them. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Good. Fresh. Good morning. Crystal, thank you very much. It's easy to take people for granted who have a need and have the spirit and mind to gather us in a way like this. I do not take Crystal and her word for granted. So she's walking away. I just want to let you know we appreciate you, and we appreciate you putting us together in a place like this at a time like this. So thank you very, very much. I'm honored to be joined here. Anyone hear me okay? I'm honored to be joined here by two dynamic individuals. I've known actually for a long time now. Baskerville, I've known for a number of years, and definitely I've known for some time. So I'm not going to read bios, but I think I'm going to get the information I need, starting out by asking this question. Tell us your why. I'm curious to know your why. I mean, we can read bios, we can read titles, we can understand what you do, but I think to get a better glimpse of who you are, I'd love to know about your why.
So, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mel. So, Mel happens to be my boss. He's on my board of trustees. So, I'm here because he actually invited me to be here. I'd like to be with you. So, my why is this. For almost 38 years, I worked in corporate America, had a fantastic career, retired on April 1st, 2016. Didn't realize that April Fool's Day was on me. I was served on the board of trustees of Miles College, and our then president, George French, took a position at Clark Atlanta University. And the board chair, quite no surprise, asked me to be the interim president at Miles College. So a 9-month interim presidency has ended up being 2 years, and I became permanent president March 5th, 2020, and 2 weeks later we rolled out COVID. But my why is this, and I tell everyone the story. I fell in love. I fell in love with the students. I fell in love with the college. I fell in love with the mission. And I wouldn't take anything for this journey. I had a great career with Southern Company, and it afforded me an opportunity to live the lifestyle we want to live. But right now, this work is a calling, and it's not.
Absolutely. I totally concur. By the time I was 14, I knew that I wanted to be a constitutional justice attorney. My father was the head of the Civil Rights Commission for County, New Jersey, the Fair Housing Commission, and other commissions designed to expand opportunity for those who are least among us. So at 14, I took a degree getting from where I was in New Jersey into and out of law school and practice constitutional justice law, trying to expand access and access for a long time. And I realized along the way that perhaps the best way of expanding opportunity is to move more people from the margins into the mainstream, especially persons who can left behind and not have those who have least among us, those who are rarely factored in the equation and how to do things. I also went to Howard University School of Law, where I was privileged to work with Dr. Herbert, who was the constitutional justice genius, who's my mentor, I became very ill while I was in law school, my second year, and I was counted out, literally. I was in a coma for 6 months. I was blind and paralyzed. I'm sorry, coma for 6 weeks, blind and paralyzed when I came out of the coma for 6 months. And from 14 until that time, I was moving along on pace, trying to make it to this constitutional justice emissary. When I came out of the coma, I realized I was blind and paralyzed. I lost my faith, and I said to Dr. Reed, who visited me, I'll never be a lawyer. I'll never be able to realize my aspiration and goal. Herb said, you're too important. You're too important to the battle as a lawyer, you got as a constitutional justice lawyer, and with black people, you've got to persist. 6 months while I was in the coma, he came to the hospital after teaching 3 classes on the days that they were scheduled, came to my bedside and went over the material, engaging in cigarette to make sure I could all the cracks. He got the other 4 professors that I had those 6 months to do the same. Many of them were underpaid relative to others who were in better financed, better endowed institutions. When I came out of the being paralyzed and blind, thank God, I invited them to my living in one bedroom, very small living space. And I said, I want to thank you all for having money out of the mass, tremendous bills, hospital bills, and so forth. What can I do? And her Reed said, you can use your gifts and talents to keep HBCUs alive. I went to Rutgers University, Douglas College, for undergrad. I had tremendous experience. They were very different. I was student number 4,000 and something. While people would have missed me because I was one of the few blacks in my classes, I doubt I would have gotten that type of treatment. And Herb said, keep the doors open and make sure that our schools are strong and other people can come and experience this. And I did. For 20 years, I served as pro bono outside council to Navia. And for the last 18 years, I've served as president and CEO of the nation's only membership and advocacy association of all 106 historically black colleges and universities, rich universe. It's my ministry, it's my calling. People say, well, when are you going to retire? It's my retirement. I look forward to this in the morning, and unless I have the privilege of doing it, I'm so honored to be here. I'm greatly appreciative to all the sponsors for this and others who made this happen. Thank you for the privilege of being here.
Awesome, thank you. And before we go any further, someone else I want to acknowledge and lift up here is Brother Cole. Thank you for being a facilitator and a conduit for our being here as well this morning. So let me go back. I don't want to assume a couple of things. Tell everyone what is not your stand. And in doing that, also, everyone thinks that they know and understand about HBCUs. What is the unique difference between an HBCU and a predominantly white institution? Why an HBCU?
NAPIO stands for the National Association for Equal Opportunity in Higher Education. It was founded 53 years ago by the presidents and chancellors of HBCUs and PPIs. They weren't PPIs at the time, but HBCUs and other equal education opportunity institutions to provide voice for this richly diverse community of colleges. We provide voice in the judicial branch of government, the legislative branch of government, the executive branch of government, telling the story about this richly diverse group of colleges and universities that includes research-intensive institutions and all institutions in between open enrollment institutions. We've got 15 community and technical colleges that are providing preparation so that we can have people prepared and in the workforce. They do a tremendous job. Prior to it, certainly they increased what they were substantially as the pandemic hit, and as we have tremendous loss of jobs and loss of health, loss of wealth and other things. On the outside, we have research-intensive institutions. We've got 5 medical schools that were called into action. call them to action and say, well, what do you know about this school? Why are Black people doing it? So the first thing I want to admit on this campus, historically Black colleges and universities are not minority serving institutions. Historically Black colleges and universities, they are historically Black, born of America's some histories, slavery, degradation, and so forth. But they're mission-oriented institutions. The mission is to educate the progeny of American slave system, African Americans, and others. Their doors have been open all the time. They're richly diverse. People think they're Black colleges for Black people, and certainly proportionate numbers, disproportionate numbers are Black African ancestry, and that's scary. But they're also diverse. 30% of the students in HBCUs on average are non-African ancestry. That's more diverse. So they're bastions of diversity, even the benefits of diversity in education. The institution of the beginning as the Black community denied access to the totality of our land, and as a result, there's a huge gulf between the richness of dollars and the resources in many historically Black colleges and those that are historically white. Their endowments on average are about 1/8 the size of the endowments of the average historically white institution. And that's what allows the institution to stand in the gap when stuff happens, as stuff always does. And so I feel like many of you who know the history of what HBCUs don't have. The real story is what they do have. Although they are under-resourced, our institutions are the connection between not just the campus community, but the communities. So they're educating about 320,000 full-time students now enrolled in HBCUs, and they're getting education. But they're the frontline service providers, so they are providing experiences with diverse faculty and staff and rich environment where people appreciate the potential of all their students. But they also provide in rural areas, they provide water and sewage services. Our 1890s land grant institutions are providing food and other services for their communities. And the later ones, hence this and was longer. I want to talk about the 1890s and the 1862 land grants. 1862 are historically white land grants, 1890s historically Black land grants. And that's important because the establishment of the 1890s land grants, and today we've got 19 historically Black 1890s land grants. Because the 1862, the white institutions that Congress established to be America's research institutions, public research institutions, wouldn't allow Blacks to participate. So there was a battle, there wasn't a battle, but there were lots of legal challenges, and finally the solution was, well, create a separate track. And 1890 land grants are doing tremendous work in housing and healthcare and top-tier research. Some of our research institutions are giving grants to try to come up with vaccines and other things that are needed. Many of our colleges, whether they were research or not, stood up testing, sequencing, and other things. But what the 1890s and the 1862 institutional divide does is it formalizes discrimination in public higher education in America. And it is the same today, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Richly diverse, serving their communities, bringing to the campuses those things that have anchored the Black community for a long time, that they were to service. So we can't get in and out of HBCU without an education by someone who knows that you can achieve whatever you set your mind to achieve, and someone who understands the history and the importance of that in education.
Awesome, thank you. So, Dr. Knight, you are president of the Historically Black College and University. So let's take a glimpse under the hood for a second. My brother Kofi talked last night about governance. I want to hear about governance at Historically Black College and University. I want to talk about access to capital and resources at an institution like Miles College. And then Dr. Baskerville touched on this. Tell us a little bit about how Miles has fared in this global pandemic.
Okay, that's a lot. We're going to remember. So I'm going to start from last time first. So fortunately, I came out of a background in the electric utility industry, and where we were always responding to and preparing for emergencies, whether it was nuclear drills because we had a nuclear plant, whether it was a hurricane like Hurricane Frederick. Some of you remember that, but, or tornadoes, or snowstorms like Snowmageddon that hit the south. But whatever, we were always in emergency mode and preparing for what we needed to do. So preparing for a pandemic was not that different. It was just more unknown. The really great thing was that all of the colleges and universities were in the same position. None of us had ever dealt with a pandemic. We pulled on and relied on each other, particularly, no knock on you guys, but what I call my assistant presidents. We would have Zoom calls over cocktails and just share, talk about things that we were going through with the but we really blessed to have members of Congress look out particularly for HBCUs. So funding from the CARES Act, funding from the HERF Act allowed us to do the things that we needed to do. For instance, we stood up a health and wellness center on the campus. Didn't have one, but that focused on not just the testing and the health of students, but the mental health of students. One of the things that we found during this time is our students needed to be back on campus. I remember students telling me, Madam President, I don't want to leave when we have to shut down. I have nowhere to go. My family needs me to go. My mom's in a crack house. Those things, some of our students really had nowhere to go. We shut down, we provide resources to give them funding, which we were able to do, the CARES Act, and emergency funding from donors or what have you. We put them in places, we put them in apartments. Some students moved in with other students, but the HBCU experience, and those of you who went to an HBCU, I didn't. I went to the University of Alabama, and I was one of 20,000. But I feel that I'm living this experience now, and I get it. I get that, yeah, we provide the wraparound services, but it's a family. You know, I just had to tell you this one story about one of my students who from South Central LA. This young man wrote a proposal for a grant we had a couple weeks ago, and he said, Madam President, text me, Madam President, would you read this for me and help me? Well, first of all, my students know how to get to them. And I mean, I have 1,500 students who can reach me either private Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or text. And some of them actually do have my phone number, unfortunately. But he sent me the proposal, his proposed paper, and I read it, and I was in shock. I only knew a couple of things about this young man. But his story is this. At 4 years old, he and his twin brother saw their father murdered. He's one of 7 boys. All of his siblings, with the exception of him, are in a gang or gang affiliated. For as long as he's known, his mother has been on drugs. When he went home when we sent the students home after they had to shut down the campus, he got home and there was no home. So he was living at the line. I have an amazing LA who is graduate of UCLA, undergrad, and USC graduate school. And I called her and I said, hey, I've got a young man out there who needs my help. So she started getting her network together to help him. Fortunately, he found a place to stay with some friends, his family. But the last thing that I want to share that he put in that story is this. The year before he decided to come to Mom's College in Birmingham, he was sitting in the car with his cousin, and his cousin was shot and killed. And he is, as a result, dead in his left ear. He said he knew that had he not left South Central and come to this little liberal arts school founded by the CB Church, sitting on a hill in Fairfield, he knew that his life would be different. But the end of that story is, this is not a story. It's the beginning, it's not the end. And that's the story, that's why I love Miles College. That's what an HBCU, it's not just mine, but that's what an HBCU provides. It's a family, we support our students, we support each other. There are true some students whose families can afford to pay their way, but there are many who cannot. And, but we made it. I'm going to tell you that the pandemic has been difficult on our students. We have had suicide attempts. We have 2 students who were couples, and we've had to send them to the hospital because they hurt themselves. As much as we do for counseling and really the impact that the pandemic had on students and their families, losing parents or grandparents, or close friends, the greatest effect, I believe, is emotional and mental. And that's why we opened our campus back up the fall of 2020. We just did not leave the students out there. They needed to be on campus. And there was a learning loss. Everybody talks about it. It's real. But we felt that it was important to bring them back for those reasons. It was a risk. We had some faculty who just decided to retire. They couldn't come back. Because they didn't want to take the risk. We didn't have the vaccines at the time. So when we did get vaccines, we required all of our students, all of our faculty staff to be vaccinated, and it's gone well. All right, so that was the last question. The second question.
So I think especially for this audience and those listening to streaming, and again, I'm pivoting off of our brother Kofi's discussion last night. Tell us about governance at Miles College, and then probably at historically black colleges and universities. You sit in the room with a group of funders, so they definitely want to know that there are structures in place around good governance. What does that mean at a historically black college?
Yeah, thank you for that. So for clarifying, so let me just say this. Our board of trustees, when I came to Miles College, I told them this: I will be absolutely transparent. I won't hide anything from you, good, bad, enough. And part of governance is ensuring that you do inform your board of trustees about the things that are challenging to the, not just the good stuff, but also the challenges that you're having. And the reason for that is they're responsible for the governance. They are my boss, but the bylaws state that that is your job. They cannot do their job well if I'm not communicating and sharing with them. So I feel very confident about our board of trustees. They know where we are. They know everything that I know. Now, coming out of corporate America in a very highly regulated industry, I understand the need for compliance. So complying with the financial aid, we have a lot of athletics. So you have to comply with the NCAA. So you've got Title IV, Title IX. I can't even begin to tell you all the things that we have to comply with, but we are constantly focused. I challenge my folks. We have to be relentless and be relentless about ensuring that we are crossing T's, dotting I's. That's what we have to do all the time. Funding is always an issue. We're a private college. We don't get state funding like the landline institutions. Our students do, if they're in-state students, they can receive state grants, but they're very small. So our money comes from basically our tuition and fundraising and grants. When I got to Miles College, we had one federal grant. That was 503. It's not competitive. You can lose it, but it's not competitive. We now have 9 federal grants. I focused on trying to build our capacity by bringing in grants that fit within our institution. We're small, we're not a research college, but there are things that we can do in partnership with other institutions. Miles College is one of, I think, top 10 most fiscally sound institutions. We're very, very proud. And unfortunately, we were able to use CARES Act funding and HERF funding to pay off student debt, student balances. Our congresswoman, Terry Sewell, said that what we have done with our funding is the best use of federal funding she has seen in an institution. We recently, without you know this, but I have to brag about it, we purchased every full-time student and every faculty member an iPad. And one of the reasons we did that is we wanted them to have a common platform to work with. We wanted to have creativity at the institution. And a lot of the colleges are doing that. We used a lot of this funding for technology because we were all in the same boat. We had to rapidly get ourselves the ability to teach remotely and virtually. And I'm going to tell you, nobody in the country was prepared to do what we had to do, but we did. We all did. And what we now know is that it's really here to stay. It's probably going to be always be a hybrid. You're going to have some students who are going to do very well virtually, but some have challenges. So the pandemic is, I call it like a blessing at first, but it was that black swan event that required us to really look at what we were doing and how we were doing it. We had to make significant changes. And we've done a great job. And it's not just me, I have to say, my cabinet, some of the faculty, like I said, couldn't make that adjustment, but for the most part, the one thing that I do, y'all, when people ask me what are the greatest needs at Miles College, I have a lot of things that I'm going to do infrastructure-wise, but what I always want to do is provide scholarships for students. So instead of giving unfunded scholarships, which really doesn't help the institution, it gets a student there, true enough, but we don't make money off of that, and we are a business. We've got to operate. And but the one thing that I always want to do is to provide opportunities for our students to have scholarship money to help them go to college. Many of them have to work, and some of them have to work and send money back home. So having funded scholarships is really important to me. What's the first one?
I want to give Dr. Baskerville a chance to talk about. Can you all hear okay?
Yeah.
I want to give Dr. Baskerville an opportunity to talk about this issue around governance and, Miles College and I don't know, it's a long run, you've seen among the other member institutions, good governance, access to capital, resources, et cetera.
Thank you so much. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I have to speak about governance in group to something else that President Knight mentioned before the bill on. So relative to governance, Dr. Jackson at Spelman College about 15 years ago now, Nadia was hosting a meeting of the presidents of historically Black colleges. We are a convener of our presidents and chancellors. They are our members. we were having discussions in governments. And so the members talked and came up with some recommendations. After we weighed a number of options, the decision was made that I should reach out to the Association of Government Boards for American higher education institutions and try to get them to start an HBCU government program. Hire the presidents who had the best experiences, longest experiences with government, some folks that were off SACs, they did government. Hire them.
Tell everyone, let's not
SACs, Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, and to integrate that in so many that it shouldn't be marginalized and sidelined, not feel certain we need to try and begin. So bring it in and bring in the best that the agency and other communities had to offer that being started. So we can run that today. Dr. Carlton Brown, former president of Savannah State University, and former president Clark Plant, is running that. They're doing a great job. They make their services available to any HBCU in need at no additional cost to them. I want to go back to something that the president Knight said that it's a teachable moment for me, and given Crystal, your almost 400,000 people who will watch this at some point live streaming. When President Knight talked about how grateful she was that we have a Congress that put resources into HBCUs. We do, but Congress, they don't just show up and decide, well, I'm going to put HBCUs right here as a priority. So NAPIO, as I indicated earlier, is the only membership and advocacy association for all HBCUs in the United States. We do that full time in each branch of government. But we also have two great partners, and all of you are probably familiar with them. UNCF, which is the principally, it raises funds for scholarships to our private, smaller institutions. And then thirdly, Marshall, that has as its primary raising scholarships, and they do tremendous work in that area. But they also join us in changing the landscape and creating opportunities. And so when about just before the coronavirus hit, we all witnessed the barbarous murder of George Floyd, real time in front of America. And out of that came the Black Lives Matter movement. And on our campuses, the HBCU students, many of them joined Black Lives Matter. And it became a rallying cry. And those of us who were working with them, either providing counsel, as we did go on, or many other things, said, how do we realize this? What does it look like? What do we need to do to move the students? And I know Campbell is sitting right here among us, and I don't want to talk about Black Lives Matter movement and mobilizing people without acknowledging her for her tremendous work with Black Youth Roundtable and National Coalition of Black Civic Participation. Because she brings us all together. And anything we do about where we should be with regard to our students, we start with them. So, but as we then said, how do we realize this? What we needed to do was tell a story that we had been telling for years, but we could tell it much better. With young people, with people who were sick and tired of watching Black boys and men, and Black girls and women, and Hispanics and others, but disproportionate percentages of our sons and daughters killed and so forth. And so the answer was, bring all the voices together around a common agenda. And what does it look like? The story that we had been telling that had previously been in newspapers, but they wouldn't look at the academic successes. They wouldn't look at the fact that 3% of American colleges are graduating 42% of all Blacks with advanced degrees in sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They didn't look at the fact that in health professions, public health professions in particular, 40% today are coming from HBCUs. They didn't look at academic justice, Black Lives Matter. 60% of Black lawyers are graduating from HBCUs today, and 80% of Black judges. So in order for us to close the education gap, the health gap, the wealth gap, sustainability gap, peace and justice gaps, HBCUs have to be central. And so with the help of the Black Lives Matter movement and so many others, and many of you whose organizations are here, so not-for-profit associations around the country, philanthropy, we were able to, again, move the message from the back pages, down section, the fancy dolls and drumlines, to the front page, to the finance page, to all the education, all the pages that made the difference for America. And when the administration came in, the new administration came in, as we always do, we meet with all of them. This time we said, you cannot help America to close these dollars in education, economics, wealth, program, and so forth, and move our communities from a state of rage and anger to moving them from margin, more margin without HBCUs. We are your answer. So the good news is that this administration said, I hear you, and we need HBCUs for America's course correction. We don't need you for the Black community's information. Sit on the sideline and call Vice President Harris, who happens to be Harvard University alumni. We want you at the table, centered for the progress of America, because America can't do us with you. So we were at the table. And then we took the message from the administration to Congress. In Congress, new administration was coming in, a new congressional Black caucus. President Knight talked about President Sewell from Alabama. We have 59 members of the congressional Black caucus, the largest, most diverse Black caucus. So those are our anchor voices in Congress. A few years ago, Congressman Alma Adams from Newark, New Jersey, an Aggie, and for those of you who don't know what Aggie Pride is, or an Aggie, she went to North Carolina A&T undergrad, came to Congress, having served in the state legislature in North Carolina, and created the bipartisan HBCU, Congressional Bipartisan Caucus. Republicans and Democrats, whites and Latinos, and broad groups, but it was that group coming together with the leadership of the associations who are quietly building and sometimes loudly building, but with the external voices, to celebrate the voice. We were able to get, with that help, with importantly, our presidents. So President Knight talked about how they were standing up, but they were standing up and doing all the things to make sure that the students and families and communities were rewarded and continue to thrive. They also took time to connect with their members, because all of you who engage in educating stakeholders know that you've got to make our members wrote and called and they brought students to Congress. $8.5 billion is what HBCUs got, which is more than we were able to have them invest in HBCUs for the past 10 years. And that deserves an applause. So why? For some reason, but this is important. So HBCUs have a short-term economic impact of $15 billion collectively. And that's their spend just in their community. Importantly, of the Black middle class, disproportionate percentages of those comprising today's Black middle class have gone to HBCUs. And collectively, the Black community has $1.3 trillion in expendable income, disproportionate percentages of the $1.3 trillion. If you take out the HBCUs, that $1.3 trillion collapses. I can't think of the exact number right now, but if anybody wants it, I have it. So people begin to understand the significance of HBCUs. We're graduating with proportionate percentages of the growing populations of America, not that small group of Black brown people. And America can't realize any of her goals without HBCUs.
Awesome. So I want to leave room for folks to ask questions. I think we have to have Brett and Heather. So I've got one more question for two of you before we open up questions from our audience. So today we're getting ready to go into two directions. going on about the future of work. So what does that mean at Miles College? How is that discussion happening? And what does that mean for Miles College? What does that mean for your organization?
Thank you. So Albert Einstein said, logic will get you from A to Z, but imagination is getting you. We have to reimagine Miles College. We have to reimagine all colleges and universities in order to meet the demands and needs of the corporate America. What we've done is we've partnered with, I don't want to call up, and we're on LinkedIn, but I gotta tell you this anyway. We partnered with Apple, IBM, Southern Company, Alabama Power, Protected Light, Kimber, NASCAR, FedEx Freight. I'm missing some. But those partnerships are not what you think. Sometimes they include funding. Sometimes they just include Mr. Corporate America and Miss Corporate America, tell us what you need from our students. And if we don't have what you need, sit down with us and help us develop the curriculum that will meet your needs. That's what we do. We
The goal is to create a pipeline of
create a pipeline for students. One example, actuarial science. We had two companies, Protected Life and Kimber Foundation, that said we can't find African Americans who have majored in actuarial science. Well, okay, help us design a program and we'll start it. We now offer actuarial science. We have a student that will be graduating in May with a degree in actuarial science. But not only did they help us develop it, they put money into it. And so, you know, a lot of people come to the table and say, I can help you. But funding is also important because we have to pay faculty, we have to pay people to do extra work, release time, all of that. So, but those partnerships are valuable. I was meeting with the folks from Microsoft. This is a new partnership. Microsoft is partnering with the World Games, which is going to be this summer in Birmingham, Alabama. Huge deal, right? Microsoft has said, okay, we want to partner with every HBCU and HBCC in the state of Alabama. State of Alabama has more HBCUs and HBCCs than any other state. Y'all may think it's Georgia, but it's not, it's Alabama. But anyway, they are partnering with us, and there will be an HBCU village at the World Games. But more than that, and this is my call to action for Microsoft is, I know that you're operating in this metaverse. I want our students to not just know what it is, but know how they can be a part of it, how they can learn, how they can teach, how they can grow. I want them to know about Bitcoin. Not that I'm saying go invest in it, but I want them to understand it. I want them to know that in the metaverse, there are things you will be able to achieve that you can't achieve right now. It requires funding to stand up those programs. We were fortunate to get a grant from Alabama Power and Southern Company to create a state-of-the-art gaming center. Man, y'all, that's big. It's huge. I didn't know it was that big. I had no idea these students could make all this money gaming, playing games, but they do. They try to get me to play. Yeah, developing games, and that's what I want them to do. So we teach that in partnership with companies like IBM and Apple. You know, we're teaching coding. It's not something they have to pay for. We are incorporating those teachings in their standard courses that they're taking, either in computer science or business. But the point is getting them ready for this new workforce. They need these skills. They need this ability to imagine. And that's one of the things we want them to do. We want to equip them all of that.
Awesome. Dr. Baskerville, what does this discussion around the future of work mean
So for our member institutions and for NAVIO in particular, it means that we have to be in places where decisions are being made early about what the workforce is going to look like, years from now, and what will be put in place today to get us there. And so I'm privileged to sit on the diversity boards for Fortune 100 corporations, the diversity boards for Fortune 500 corporations. I'm privileged to sit on boards with small and disadvantaged businesses to find out the role that they can play, and a number of other important boards. I also am privileged to sit on the diversity board of the American Federation of Teachers, and have a really strong relationship with NEA, National Education Association, because we're going to have the pipeline here from pre-K. I work closely with the Council for Opportunity and Education, COE, that is the make sure that we have dollars for our students in upward bound and trio programs, and programs that prepare, inspire, and connect low-income students. So we start at square one. You have to have an early start, a healthy start, a head start, when low-income mothers and fathers are expecting to prepare the students and get them on a pipeline that includes all of the supports that are needed. And we fight for dollars for those programs, because if there's a chink, the families that are today in Title I programs, disproportionate percentages of them will at least explore, as will a wide range of others, but will at least explore going to an HBCU that is aligned with their preparation and aspiration. We make sure that they have preparation. And so we do a lot of that. The teacher piece is also important, because I neglected to say it, but HBCUs are graduating today 50% of public education professionals. And so years ago, non-federal wrote legislation that established the Augustus Hawkins teacher program in Congress. So by the time HBCUs get it, they say, wow, a lot of great people in Congress put some money in to focus just on creating opportunities, more infrastructure, more dollars, more everything that our institutions need to undergird the efforts, the current efforts, but to graduate more people who are sensitive to and share common backgrounds and believe in our students and instill in them the fact that I know you can, yes you can, you will, and work with them to do it. So those are the types that we do. We're always focusing on creating the climate that's going to give what our presidents need, and to stay connected with them to a number of things. But an important piece, which reminds me of what we're doing here, is the annual presidential peer seminar. It's the only time that we're aware of when the presidents and chancellors all, well, about 80, to develop a 5-year strategic plan that becomes the non-peer plan, so that we can go back and work. So we hear from our president. We hear from President Knight, and today for 46 other HBCU female presidents, the largest number of HBCU females, without taking the head of the broader education community in terms of diversity and women in leadership positions. And you all saw and heard and felt the dynamism of President Knight. I've got 46 other President Knights, and it excites me. But anyway, so those are the types of things that we're doing, anticipating hearing from our presidents, and we anticipate randomly tell us clearly this is what we need, and give us a plan, and then we go out and do it for 5 years. And stuff happens, and so we're nimble and plan shifts. And in the end, this year, with the entire community, including those of you who are seated here, we sort of pick up the downside of the upside of the pandemic is that so many more Americans and people globally. This is not just an American deal. This is partnership across the way. And the African American Institute, I realize you're here, and I may not have to say this earlier, but HBCUs from their founding, African leaders have been central part. So Ezekiel, as you know, was in the first HBCU that would award degrees, and that was in, I guess, 1930. And President Ezekiel went on to be the head of Nigeria, and Kwame Nkrumah came to class of 39, Lincoln University, and went on to be the first president And today, Uganda is the home for the new African Free Trade Zone. NAFTA has partnership, 20 partnerships with 23 either African countries or companies or states. And we see this HBCUs, and if you look at the diversity on our campuses, we've been able to get grant dollars and other types of sponsorships to make sure that this African community, Africans in the diaspora, are integrated in here. So we're African ancestry people.
Africans on the continent, we've got resources that we couldn't begin to have here in terms of natural resources and folks who can tap into that and so forth. In our research, spend a lot of time working together with our African ancestry persons and Africans in the diaspora. One year we had 5,000 students from 5,000 Black Brazilians going to HBCUs. And we're looking forward to continuing that, continuing entrepreneurship among and between continents and peoples, and healthcare and the environment. Our agendas align pretty much with the UN in terms of what we're doing collaboratively.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, your turn. You've got these two dynamic sisters here. Sir, you got a question? Speaking your loud into the microphone, because I think we got folks online. Remind us your name, where you're from, question, go for it. Yep, you just got to project that, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
Stan Smith, with America on Tech, but really enjoying this conversation. I want to get back to the land grant piece that you wanted to get back to.
Oh, thank you.
Baskerville, but
For me, and I had many moons ago just thought more about this and the wisdom that we used for land grants to create many of the HBCUs, the A&Ts and the A&Ms, the agricultural and technical and mechanical schools back then, which now feel like we need to reimagine what that is, which you're doing at Miles College towards the 21st century skills. But is there, I guess, opportunity to utilize some of the land grant strategy? I understand there's still a lot of public land out there where we could potentially get some funding, but utilizing that because we know private dollars are limited, but public funds can provide a lot more of what we need. But thoughts on land grants now and how we might be able to access some of that?
Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
And a more,
I didn't hear what. Oh, a Morehouse man.
I mean, Morehouse.
You're supposed to do something with your hand when you say Morehouse man, right? House. You have to do something. What do you all do when you say Morehouse man?
You just can't tell them much.
Ain't no man like a Morehouse man. That's what I say. Ain't no man like a Morehouse man. Thank you for the question. I think I differ slightly with you relative to your characterization of A&Ts then and now. And probably unbeknownst to a lot of people, agricultural and mechanical, agricultural and technical. In the 1890s, we had more Blacks finishing 1890s land grants in health professions than we do today. We had more Blacks finishing land grants in STEM, sciences, biology, and so forth than we do today. And so I know there was the big debate about whether you have agricultural, mechanical, technical, and so forth. But that was a model, and it's a model that in many regards has got to be pumped up for today. And so we're trying to get it. But this is what happened. So I told you, we had the 1862s, they didn't want Black people there. Lawsuits, 1890s. When the 1862s were established, they were given tremendous amounts of land and lots of dollars from Congress, lots and lots of dollars. When the 1890s were set up, they were not given land, although 1890s are land-based, they're environmental-based, they are preparing people to deal with food insecurity. So you've got all those things, but they didn't give them the land when they set it up. And the dollars are paltry compared with what the dollars were. So today, fast forward, there's a huge gulf remaining between what the 1890s and the 1862s receive. Their missions are virtually identical. And it has nothing to do with outcome. And so the institutions, 1890s, that are graduating disproportionate percentages of the growing populations of the nation should certainly be aligned with the other research institutions and their court cases that suggest that where you maintain a dual system in public higher education, they can't be dual and unequal. So we're exploring that. But a real bad part, and I guess a lot of you heard about what happens, is that in Congress, when they appropriate dollars for the 1890s land grants, there's a requirement that the states match it. So to receive these dollars from Congress, they have to provide a match to the 1890s land grants. Most of them have flouted the directive. I mean, most of them have not done it. And so one of the things that is high on NAFIO's priority list for the remainder of the 117th Congress, which is the present, is to explore with this administration through the Office of Civil Rights whether or not something is actionable. If we have states that are continuing not to award the match, then they should lose their Title VI dollars, which is required under the law. If you use your dollars for discriminatory purposes or by withholding it, discriminate. So we're trying to do that.
Talking a little louder, yeah, but
There's a similar requirement that you use the states for that.
Not that I'm aware of, but don't hold me to that. I'll look it up and get back to you. Right after this, not months from now, now.
So here's what I want to do, because we only have about 5 minutes left. I'm going to let a few people just ask around the horn questions, and we'll let our two panelists close out in their closing comments, answer those questions. So 1 second, yes. Talk up loud, please. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I operate in the K-12 education space, and what I find is that, the space is really sort of operates on trends and fads that are usually sort of funder-driven. So over the past few years, as the philanthropic community has kind of largely pulled out of some K-12 education work, there's some disillusion with outcomes and things like that. The conversation seems to have shifted nationally from sort of the college going push to work. Specifically with the pandemic, there was a lot of conversation around, look, these kids, they just need to go work. And that tends to impact us most. Mm-hmm. And so my wonder is, how do HBCUs sort of, I guess, work to grab the attention, right, of students who are, in my opinion, sort of being diverted to like college later. Right now, you just need to work. You need to help your family, which is falling upon us heavily. And then what can we be doing on the ground to change this conversation from the binary that is work or college to there's a world in which these exist together? How do we begin to think about that?
All right, so that's one question. I hope you both have noted that.
Got it.
And work and college together. Mel, you had a question?
Yes. This is great. Sheila Tyson is
Talk up a little louder now. Oh, just give him a mic. I'm sorry.
Okay, I can't really talk much louder than I am right now because of my voice. But one of the things that I think is really important, and in your response, because what I do is deal with these elections, and we're in this existential moment right now with this democracy. And so a lot of what we even talking about last night, as it relates to this election, and how you're talking about what can happen with funding when you got all these governor's races coming up, but also the fact that our democracy is in a situation where we're not functioning that in a way that says to me that we're going to have a good outcome by November. So what things that can happen, that you see that can happen, to engage our HBCU community in this moment, because the outcome for the second half of this administration will be nothing but a president that can do nothing but veto. That's the bottom line result. And so.
Got it. Thank you. So listen, we got, okay, one second. I want to get all these out. One second. Working college, HBCU engagement, on the electoral process. Sorry, Crystal has a question, brother. She's the boss. So sorry.
And I'm Greg.
Yes.
Oh, no, Greg, you go. No, you should, please go.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
I'll make it really quick. Very proud Tougaloo College graduate, and Dr. Knight, thank you. I think you began to talk a little bit about this, but I'm wondering, we have a lot of existential crisis, climate crisis, the racial wealth divide, the growing threat against our democracy, right? I wonder what HBCUs are doing to drive solutions to these kinds of existential crises. And I also wonder what HBCUs are doing to innovate in those spaces so that we aren't just replicating what's been done in past, we're balancing tradition with the responsibilities for innovation.
All right. Please, go ahead.
Okay.
We got a couple more, please.
My question is really around innovation and talent, right? I mean, and I know, so oftentimes in this sector, we talk about the lack of talent in the impact sector. I went to HBCU, so I'll start with that. And what I would like to propose, and some of my colleagues here I'm going to engage, I really would like HBCUs to think about the future of work in the social impact sector. It is so needed. It is a long overdue conversation, because we have the lived experience to solve the problems. And so oftentimes when it's time to hire and recruit, and people are talented and well-intentioned, but if you don't have the lived experience, there's something I think fundamentally, and I'll go to toe with you on this. You can't do this work. And so I really want us to think about, in this room with Dr. Knight, I'm volunteering her, how do we stand up an innovation center, right? Where young people are actually trained, we invest in miles, we invest in young people, and they're trained to work and lead in this sector. And I'm sure Greg loves that.
Awesome. Lastly, we got one more question, Doctor.
Yeah, so totally agree with you on innovation. My name is Ashley Gardner. I run a nonprofit called Health Medicaid. And very interested in the health of our young people, right? A lot of them coming to colleges, first like colleges, coming from the Medicaid population, right? We have well over 81 million people on Medicaid. We, Black folks in general, are over 35% of that in the United States. How do we help students? When you talk about an illness, Lezli, which I think was really critical and important, and what got you out of that illness was hope, right? Was understanding and navigating the system. Okay. You talked about having your first wellness center on your campus in 2021. If we are not healthy, and our children do not know how to navigate the system, whether it be a federal program, a state program, or getting your first job and understanding your medical benefits, we cannot contribute to the workforce, and we certainly can't innovate. Right? And so I'm really interested in how we change the life cycle of making sure our children unlock their health and understand that their health, their mental health or physical health, is the key to their success.
Awesome. So thank you everyone for those questions. So ladies, you got a myriad of questions from the audience. Dr. Knight, I'm gonna let you go first. Then Dr. Baskerville, I like being on time. We're a little bit behind, so let's get to it.
Okay, I'm going to try to do this really quick. Sheila Tyson is a great friend and a great personal friend, but also a great supporter of Miles College. Let me tell you why it's so critical who goes to office. In the state of Alabama, all of those infrastructure dollars that came out of Washington go through the governor's office. We can't access those dollars. They have to provide those dollars to us. The decisions they make on how they use those funds are not the decisions that are in our best interest. So that is really critical for us, and we're happy to have someone like Commissioner Tyson, who serves on the county commission. We're not in her district, but she treats us as if we are in her district. So that's really important conversation. Innovation. So critical for us. Remember, I told you that we have to reimagine what we are doing. We have to reimagine academic constructs. We have to reimagine the student.
The student may not be coming to us right out of college. We have partnerships with junior colleges now, and we have a lot of non-traditional students. So we have to really think about what the new student is. They're not always coming right out of 12th grade into college, but you got to reimagine. And then if you have a student that is working, you've got to meet them where they are. That's why this transition to virtual learning has been critical, because not only did it help students who were dealing with having to work remotely, but it also helps us with those students who are the non-traditional students who have families and have jobs and that sort of thing. But there is a place for four-year institutions. I think there will always be. That's one of the reasons we entered into partnerships with junior colleges, because there are some people who are just not ready. They're not ready for a four-year institution, and they come to us not ready. Sometimes I wish they would go to a junior college before they come to us, but it'll work itself out in some way.
Impact, health.
So health, let me tell you how critical this is for us. We had to have a medical doctor oversee our health center. My provost happens to be married to a medical doctor. Last minute, we said, hey, Dr. Agee, would you come and do this for us? He was all in. He has a practice. He does sports medicine primarily, and surgery for sports injuries. But he did it. He took us on because he loves his wife, one thing, but he loves our college. He loves the institution. He has a son that goes to Miles College. And so it was very important for us to provide that. Let me tell you how critical that's been. The day we cut the ribbon, we had patients going in, students, not just students, faculty, going in to see the doctor, the nurse practitioner. Now, I'm going to tell you, we had fewer tests positive for COVID this school year than we had the last school year. We actually had more STDs. I guess, I don't know if I should say that or not, but it is what it is. But having mental health, counseling, that is the thing that's the most critical, and that's really, Dr. Baskerville, what I want us to focus on in the social impact, and is to figure out how we can better help our students who come to us with these great issues, emotional issues. We've got to help them where we do our best. I had never seen anybody or met anybody that cut themselves. I thought it was something that only white kids did. And to know that I have two students who came there as cutters was amazing to me. I was so surprised. So back in 2020, I was asked to write an article by Gloria Dittis, you know Gloria well, for her national newsletter, and to address the impact of George Floyd on society and the George Floyd murder. I wrote this article, and it dawned on me that because Miles College had played such an integral part in the civil rights movement in Birmingham and Alabama, and in particular Miles College students, that I wanted to launch the Miles College Center for Economic and Social Justice. And we have done that. We did that. We actually will be renaming that center in honor of Judge U.W. Clement, who was a federal judge and who is an undergraduate of Miles College, so an alumnus of Miles College. And he's also providing funding for that, by the way. But that center is doing exactly, I think, Crystal, what you were alluding to, is we're really trying to focus on not just the economics of our school, but the economics of our community. We sit in Fairfield, Alabama. The city has been in bankruptcy for, I guess, 2 years now. We're the largest employer in the city. We believe that we can be that economic engine to drive growth in the city of Fairfield. It really needs to be a college community, and we're playing a part of that in a major way. We own 44 acres that are just a blank slate that it used to be a hospital, and it's a blank slate. There's nothing there. We want to develop that not just for Miles College, but for the community, Fairfield and West Alabama. Did I miss anything?
Nope. Dr. Baskerville. No pressure, Dr. Baskerville.
Okay, well, no pressure felt. Thank you. Relative to the economic and social impact activities, Mackenzie Scott, you all heard about this.
We didn't get any of that money, by the way.
Well, it's the getting ain't over yet. Um, right.
Let's not assume everyone knows what Mackenzie Scott did. Remind everyone what
She invested in HBCUs tremendously. 23 HBCUs received between approximately $20 million and $50 million. And I put that, and tremendous philanthropy. I put that out there because interestingly, and I follow where the dollars went. So many of them went to economic impact and economic and social justice impact centers. So where all of our 6 HBCU law schools are in that space, combining the B schools and the law schools for economic impact and then the justice impact. If you look at the one at Howard, the one at UDC, North Carolina Central, Southern University System, Thurgood Marshall down at Texas Southern and FAMU law schools, you'll see that they have them and they're open. So you don't have to be in the law school to participate. So that's a start. The other question that I want to address is the one about the NIMH and, relative to the social impact, and in a question or comment that you made, another phenomenal sister who's serving at the helm of one of our schools, Rosalind Artis, president of Benedict College. Same time, just before coronavirus hit desperately, she requested resources for social impact centers, recognizing that her students are disproportionately low income. When coronavirus hit, as with so many President nights, many of them couldn't go home. No home to go to. They're gone until Christmas. Somebody else is in the room, or no infrastructure, etc. She used her dollars to propose BC Cares centers that deal with the economic, the social, the physical, the mental, all of the facets of these students. She's providing food and shelter and housing. Has to be the whole, meeting all the needs. And so they're doing that, and there need to be more. One other thing I want to say, so relative to impact, the piece with regard to health. We've got in the Small Business, NIDA, National Telecommunications Information Administration, they're focusing on innovation in technology. So they're on their second round of extending opportunities for HBCUs and MSIs, and many of our members didn't get in on the first submission, didn't know about it, but they're coming in. The same is going on Department of Defense, innovation centers for HBCUs and minority serving institutions, National Institutes of Minority Health. And so the climate that was created that yielded the dollars from Congress, the dollars from philanthropists, is also now trickling down to the dollars from the appropriators that are specific for HBCUs, and in all 13 or 14 budget category areas, there are dollars specifically for HBCUs, tribal colleges, and minority serving institutions in innovation. So with the leadership of many here, I can help you partner. We need you to partner with our institutions because you all have been working in this space. You've got ideas, leadership. We need all of those expertise. And in our discussions this afternoon, maybe we can talk about how I can facilitate your working with our clusters because it's sorely needed.
Ladies and gentlemen, give these ladies a round of applause.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Dr. Knight and Lezli. Woo, that was good, right? So I know what I'm going to ask for my reciprocity circle. I'm glad I'm getting my list. I have my list together. Take a short break right here, restroom break, grab some coffee, tea, water. There's some fresh fruit. And then, right, that's
that's where we are, break, right? Yep. Take a quick break.